Hello, imaginary friends. Welcome back. We're discussing the short story about the Battle of Gettysburg that maybe you just listened to it. Maybe you haven't listened to it. If you haven't, you might want to do that. Just maybe do that first. And he remained ever grateful. Volga Balach. Clear the way.
So Daniel, why don't you tell me in this, why did you write it? Tell me how true to life it really is, and tell me more about your family member who survived it, who was actually in it. So tell me what's up.
Okay. When I first found out about Patrick Fallahy, I was excited that he was Irish because I didn't have any connection with Ireland other than loving their music. And so when I discovered I had an Irish ancestor, I was like, cool. Now I feel like I'm allowed to be connected to that music, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't even know if he enjoyed singing or whistling or any, maybe he hated music. I have no idea.
Right? That would be ironic. That's why I came to America, to get away from the bloody music.
It's too many singers. Anyway, I had no idea he was involved in the Civil War, but I had this tradition of, I had developed this kind of tradition of, as I did amateur genealogy, of just whenever I hit the period of a certain war, I'll just always go look up the government records and see if that person is mentioned in the war. Yeah. And if they are, whether I can confirm it's actually that individual and not someone else named the same thing, So I just did that process for him because he was of the age. And I saw that he was part of the Minnesota First. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Minnesota? I just associate that with certain kinds of people who seem very friendly, and that's great. But
oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
Now that I'm older, I'm a lot happier to associate ancestors of mine with being friendly. When you're younger, when I first looked it up, I wanted someone who was like a bear, or at least a scientist. Something important.
Interesting.
Yes, something interesting, exactly. Anything interesting. Even a criminal is more interesting than just, oh, I'm nice. I had some kids.
When you're young, that's what it is.
Yes, but so glad it wasn't a criminal. I didn't know anything about the Minnesota First, and I didn't actually look it up for a while. I just went on with my search, and I was like, well, what else can I find out about other people and around that, Where in Ireland did he come from? I really wanted to know that. And then I found that out, and it was either Coolcappa or Limerick. And when I saw Limerick, I was like, oh no, I hate limericks. That style of poetry, there's nothing grave about it, nothing meaningful. It's just a joke in poetic form. Eventually, I looked up what did they actually do, because I would love to be able to just pinpoint a day and say, an ancestor of mine was in such a place at such a time and did such a thing. That would be cool, regardless of what it was. They did their laundry at this place. And they took it on that day, and this is what the clothing they had. That would be interesting. And that's the kind of thing I figured I'd find. And the more I read about it, the more I found out, and I started down a rabbit hole, and I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, well, I need to write this down in a way that my kids, grandkids, etc., will be able to digest and understand and not forget. Because I'm just incredibly grateful, because I haven't been forced to tackle that kind of decision. Well, sort of. I sort of have. I've taught in an inner city school, so that's not that dissimilar, if I'm honest. I'm not even making a joke totally, but I think just knowing that they made that decision, that all of them to a man just went. They didn't question. They didn't hesitate. Yeah. They just did it, knowing it's very unlikely I'm going to come back from this, but it's that important. That's so beautiful and heart wrenching. And I just wanted them to know, this is for you. It's for all of us, and it's worth it to remember again and again.
So it's an absolutely incredible story, and largely considered the single greatest act of courage in U.S. Armed Forces history. And the fact that Dan's personally connected with that, it was just I got chills when I realized that was your great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was one of those who not only charged but also walked back and then survived the next day. It's an incredible piece of history, and I think your story is a really cool, compelling, personal insight into that moment in history.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing, is it's easy to talk about history and to paint it with wide strokes of oh, this great thing happened, this great battle, but it's all faceless. It's we can talk about how many people died in battle, but if you weren't personally affected by it, it's just numbers. It's literally numbers. It's not real people. And what your story did is it gave emotion, it gave humanity to this story of this battle that happened, that truly happened. It's a real thing here in America. And it just, to me, it brought some, like I said, humanity to the war.
A short 33-year-old diabetic Irishman. That's humanity.
I'm not diabetic.
No, not you.
But yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
But no, like, that's real. You know, like that's a real person. And now, if I ever think back to that battle, I think of the characters in your story. So what you were able to do with this little short story was bringing humanity and truth and like all these different things to light in our lives and in our history and stuff, and it just blew me away. It was awesome. All the stuff that Timothy says is incredible. Like, that is awesome. And now you're bringing like another level to it. It makes you question what you would do in this situation. Like, would I be so willing to do that?
So. I don't know.
Like, exactly. Like, I hope that I would have the courage to do that. Like, regardless of what the thing is, like, if it's the right thing to do, if it's what I'm called to do, like, will I have the courage to actually do that? To see the loss in this battle. Like, so I went into it and I didn't know any of the history. So I didn't know what was going to happen to these guys. And so, like, you start and you're getting to enjoy who these people are. You personalized them. You made them human. You made them super easy to root for these guys. I'm laughing. I'm feeling, oh, that's great. Oh, this is good. And then you start seeing them just go down. And I'm like, no. I think I even left you comments where I was like, no. And it's not like you can change it. This is something that really happened.
Stevens really did get shot 7 times.
Yes. And it's like, the thing is, like, these men knew that they were going into that. If I knew that I was going to get shot up, would I do that? And I hope that I would, but man, it's incredible and inspiring to read this real story that you took and you made it real and you made it something special. And it's awesome, dude. It's hats off to you, man. This is an awesome story.
And very memorable too. Like, cause, I read it 13, 14 years ago. And when we circled back to do it, like, a few months ago, I remember you talked that you were thinking of sharing this story, and I was like, oh yeah, like, I remember this about it and this about it, and like, it was memorable.
You remembered some things that I didn't even remember until I read it again, which was really cool.
That after 13, 14 years, like, there were pieces of it that stuck with me through all of that. Which, again, you wrote it so beautifully that, it stuck with me for all that time.
When you went back to edit it, because you finished it, like, however long ago, over a decade ago, what was the editing process like? How much changed from what you picked up to what now you have offered to everybody? Like, what has changed? What's the difference?
Not as much as usual. You guys provided some really good feedback on what could be potentially confusing and where we needed some more transition to kind of clear the path so that we didn't get hiccups when we were reading. And occasionally, like, I actually made some edits while I was recording it because I realized as I'm saying something, that doesn't actually flow well. That doesn't make sense, or it doesn't, this isn't really what this character would say.
It is so helpful. Number one, when you read our stories, what it does for me, where I'm like, oh shoot, Daniel, I need you to reread these sentences because I changed them completely. But when you read out loud yourself, I highly encourage everybody if you are a writer, read your work out loud. It is like the most important thing to do before you go into like sending it out to people to read or listen or whatever. Like, read it out loud, and then you'll edit. You'll do a third edit right there. So. Do it. But anyway, so continue. What else changed? What else was different?
I changed one character's name because I did a bunch of research to make sure, because I couldn't remember how I had decided who was in his squad. I didn't really know. I still don't know exactly how I decided back then, because I'm not sure all the resources that are available to us now digitally were available then. And I didn't go to Minnesota this year, so the onus was on me to just make sure, okay, feasibly could these people have been in his squad, and feasibly Like, were they there on this day? You know, would they have seen the action, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had to change one character who I found out didn't experience what I thought he'd experienced, and that's all. Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
that's interesting. So it was more of
Big
like a
delay on
fact
that.
check thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that is impressive because I know that if I picked up, which I'm probably going to pick up my first novel again at some point and
Oh,
re-edit
good.
that, and I am afraid because I remember where I left it and where I was like, man, that's probably gonna be my magnum opus, and then I went off to write different
Yeah.
novels that now I like think back and I'm like, I mean, how could my other novels not be better than that one? And I'm just afraid to go to dive in. So I'm really curious, like, what was your mindset? You were very happy then, obviously, if you didn't change
I was afraid. Okay, one
much.
thing I was afraid of was I remembered in an early draft, like before I even read it, 12 to 14 years ago, whatever it was. I had read that people in the North, even if they believed in freeing African Americans, and even if they believed in the cause of preserving the Union, didn't necessarily treat everyone respectfully. And so in an
interesting. Okay.
early draft, I actually had some of the Union soldiers say a few disrespectful things for the
Sure.
purpose of making it realistic. And then I nixed some of those things, and I think I nixed all of it, really. So when I went back, I was like, did I, shape the plot around that at all? I hope not, because I don't want to leave that stuff in there.
Deleted. Listen, you are not a Quentin Tarantino. You can't say things, even if it's, like, disparaging, like, this is a
Well, and
bad
I
thing
don't
to
want to.
say, and that's why they're saying it,
And I don't think he would want to, either. Patrick, I mean.
And I think that it makes it so that you sacrifice realism for people actually liking your characters. Because if somebody hears you say something derogatory, almost, especially nowadays in today's culture, I think it's just like, no, I don't like you. You are bad
Right.
if you say something.
Yeah.
Regardless if they were really saying that back then, and they were doing the honorable thing by fighting. It's like that one thing can actually make
Right.
them look really
Yeah.
bad. And so I think that it's probably smart for you
That's
because
why I
you're
try
not,
not
like,
to swear in front of
you're
my
not
children.
Right.
It's like,
You swear?
I mean, here's the point. Let's get back to the point. It's important that they understand who I am inside. Right? And who I mean to be.
What's that Disney song? Who I Am? Is it Mulan
Oh.
where she's singing about
Yes.
who she is inside or
Yes.
something? Yeah. That's the song that's your theme right now, man. Oh, that's great.
Thank you very much for enjoying it. I'm so blessed that you guys enjoyed it so much, and so grateful to those who listened and bothered to come here and listen to this as well.
Yeah, if you haven't, stop what you're doing right now. Just stop this video, go back.
This is why we don't have any views on our discussions, because you keep telling them to
Yeah,
stop
no,
and go back and
Stop.
listen to the.
And then come back.
Yeah, but then
And
come,
then come back.
Come back. Watch this.
Of course, they've
and
already stopped by the
comment,
time they say
like,
come back.
subscribe.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Stop what you're doing. Go back. Listen. Like, subscribe, share. There's a lot of people that really, really love the Civil War, and this is a story to be heard. This is a story to be told. So please share it and get it out there.
Yeah, and Dan, thank you for
Okay,
writing
put that
such a great story that not only gets to share your family history, but gets to share this piece of American history and Civil War history that I don't think enough people know about. I think the story of the first Minnesota is absolutely amazing, and I think everyone should know it because it literally was a moment in history where everything could have been different. And I think it's an incredible story, and so I love that you're highlighting it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you for putting
You're
it
welcome.
out there.
Thank you.
Like I say this all the time about both your writings. The world needs to know and hear your stories. It makes the world a better place. So keep telling them, keep writing them.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you'll join us next time.
Hi. If you want to watch something, watch this. Or maybe it's over here. I don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be somewhere.